Hello guys, so we are now at Korea Blockchain Week and here with you Anna Tutova, co-founder of Coinstelegram, and our guest Andrew Durgee, who is head of Republic Crypto, and they provide financial infrastructure and as well capital formation and advisory, and they're the leader in the space. So great to have you here, Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us about your background? And you know you discovered crypto pretty early, so can you tell more about that?
Yeah, so I've been in the blockchain space since early 2010, and got into the mining side basically because that was really what was around at the time, and then became CEO and co-founder of a company called the Coin Tree. We were the first doing multi-sig security and storage for Bitcoin in 2011, 2012, 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, so
So
early
you
start.
discovered crypto back in 2011 or even earlier?
No. So that was 2010. We found the Bitcoin white paper in December 2009.
Mm-hmm. How did it happen? Like, did your friends tell you, or did you just discover on the internet?
I had a friend who was kind of an anti-government libertarian, and he found it in an IRC chat, which if you were around a long time ago, you'd remember IRC chats. And he was the one that found it, and he passed it along.
Wow. So did you get the idea straight away when you saw the white paper?
I think at the time it was very exploratory. We didn't know what it was going to be. We had some ideas. The idea of kind of printing your own money was pretty interesting to us, which is how we looked at it at the time, although it was actually something much more substantial than that. And then it just grew from there. And as we really started to build more and more technology around it so that we could use it more and secure it better and store it better, it just became more and more a prominent part of my life, and ultimately became kind of the path that I wanted to be on.
So did you invest at that time into Bitcoin?
I've actually never bought Bitcoin. I've only
You owned it?
only
Okay, you
mined
mined it.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So did you keep it or did you sell it at some point?
We always, the idea of never selling it is pretty tough. It was not worth anything at the time. And, I remember when it hit 5 cents and 20 cents and 25 cents and $1. But we were running pancaked Radeon 7990s, massive electric bills. And so I would sell the Bitcoin to pay for, stuff, to be able to do more of it, frankly. We always knew that it had potentially a high ceiling, but, we didn't know what the timeline was for it to get there or how realistic that was. So the only people that really didn't sell any, there's really two types of people. One is some of the real crazy anti-government libertarian guys that still live in like a bunker in like Idaho. They haven't sold any. And then people who lost their wallet and then found it later, or another group of people that didn't sell it just because they weren't able to. But
diamond hands people.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that. But we've kept a good amount, and I'm not sad, and I would change nothing. I mean, it helped facilitate the growth of what I was working on, the growth of the space, and yeah.
Yeah, and your journey has been for such a long time, since 2010. So can you tell into which other companies were involved, and how did everything started with Republic?
Yeah, so another place I spent some time was a company called TLDR Capital. We're the #1 ICO advisory firm globally, 2016, 17, and 18. Every major ICO really ran through us back then. And then I joined Republic in early 2019 to build out what was meant to be the first vertically integrated crypto investment bank. And basically where that came from was, after being in the ICO space for a while, we really saw that it was going to need to be regulated. It was like the total Wild Wild West was crazy. And so I went the total other direction. I went the full regulated path. Because Republic was a regulated institution in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue, basically, and I knew that was the ultimate direction the industry was going to go. So ended up going to Republic, built out Republic Crypto, and then ended up becoming more prominent. The company now I'm president of all of Republic, and we continue to grow, and the company itself is now Web3 native. That became such a big part of the business that now it's permeated the entire company, and that's just the direction that we're moving.
Yeah, that's impressive. And as well, with Republic, can you tell more about your current activities?
Yeah, I think a big focus for us, and it's definitely a topic here at the conference, is around the real world asset space. It's been something we've been in for a while, even though it's really more of a hot topic over the last year or so, at least globally. But somewhere we lived for a while.
And you even tokenized your own fund.
Yeah, we've tokenized a lot of things, our fund, other funds, but the big piece is the tokenization of culture assets, sports, film, music. That's an area that we're really focused on right now. We just tokenized 10% of English football club, Watford. It's like a 130-year-old club out of the UK, and really looking at doing a lot more of that. I mean, that's literally, we take the equity of a club, we tokenize that portion of the equity, we build utilities into it, like if you own a certain amount of these tokens or have a certain equity position, you can meet the players, travel with the team, everyone entrance to the stadium, special swag, all these different ways of engaging more deeply with the thing you're passionate about.
So do you really see already the demand for tokenized assets, or is it still just experiments and people and big corporations do that just to see what will happen? Is there a secondary market for the tokenized assets?
Yeah, so that's the right question. We are, as it relates to culture assets. Culture assets do very well on the primary issuance side. As far as secondary markets go, well, security token secondary markets is still relatively nascent. Um, Most of the assets that we've done tokenized primary issuance for are locked for a year, so they're not trading yet, but they ultimately will be. And so for us, it's really a race against the clock to make sure that we have the appropriate secondary market set up, market makers in place, and the infrastructure around the secondary market to facilitate that type of retail to retail trading. And so we're well on our way to do that. We're in the process of an acquisition, so this is all public, but we bought 10% of INX, which is a security token exchange. The goal is to try to acquire the rest of it over the next couple months, and that will ultimately be our platform where these assets will list.
And as well, you mentioned regulations, and you talk with different regulators worldwide. So how do you see the regulations in different regions, and which region country is the most advanced in your opinion?
All different. I mean, for security tokens, though, it's actually pretty clear. I mean, most security tokens can run on like 1930s US-based securities law. So yes, there is some more bespoke solutions in certain jurisdictions that are helpful, but for the most part, there's pretty clear swimming lanes as it relates to that. The utility token space is the area that needs a lot more innovation around it. That being said, there's obvious markets, whether that's ADGM in Abu Dhabi or Vara out of Dubai, MAS in Singapore. What we're seeing with MiCA in Europe and some of the UK regulations. The reality is everyone knows the industry is moving this direction, and they're trying to figure how best to navigate it. But it's tough. Regulators have a really hard time. You're talking about an asset class that moves very fast. There's a lot of innovation around it. Most of the regulators are really small organizations. They're trying to keep up to speed with something that's moving, at paces they're not usually comfortable with. So the regulators get a lot of heat for sure, but they have a very, very tough job. Yeah.
Yeah, and you told that you have 100 people here in Korea. So how do you see regulations here?
Yeah, we love the Korean market. We own a company here called Together Apps, which is like a retail lending platform. So we like to have a good presence here in Korea. Korean market's really interesting because it's an area where retail is very much alive for Web3. But they've had their own issues they've had to deal with. Terra Luna was a very big problem for this market in particular, and they're still recovering from it in certain aspects. But we're very, very bullish on Korea. We're very, very committed to the Korean market.
You as well quite a lot in Middle East. So what do you think about the UAE market?
Yeah, so we're very close with both VAR and ADGM. We have like 50 people, I think, out of the DIFC. So like we have a pretty significant presence in Dubai, and looking to deeper our relationships and presence in Abu Dhabi as well. I think if you're in the industry, inevitably you're doing business there in some capacity. They're trying to be very, very innovative. They've created incredible sandbox environments for people to be able to innovate around. And so there's no getting around it. I think if you're operating in the space, you're touching that jurisdiction in some capacity.
And Republic is regulated in New York, and you're based in the US. So, do you see any soon improvements in the US crypto regulations? What are your expectations from the US elections?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Republic is built on 1930s securities law, so we're doing just fine. And could we do more and do more faster with more velocity if the regulations were more flexible? Certainly. But Republic is tip of the spear on a lot of these initiatives, right? So we're driving a lot of that innovation. We take that responsibility very seriously. I think it does. Election-wise, I think it doesn't necessarily matter who wins, and I'm not going to get overly political on this conversation, but I think the only difference that happens, regardless of who wins that election, is just the speed at which things happen. But either way, everything is going to continue to move in the right direction.
And as well, talking about tokenization of your fund, and as well to allow other users on your platform to invest into not only into crypto but as well into tokenized assets, real estate, art, and etc. Can you tell more about this, and for which types of tokenized assets do you see the biggest demand?
Definitely culture assets, sports, film, music, top of the list. Those things sell out very, very quickly. People are very passionate about it, and it's an asset class they haven't been able to touch previously. We definitely do stuff on the bond side, treasury side, real estate side. But as far as where's the most demand from the retail, definitely around culture assets, which is fun. That's the fun place to be, right? So we like that side of the business quite a bit, yeah.
And what can you say about the state of institutional adoption of crypto, especially after we saw the approval this year of Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs?
I mean, I think the cat's out of the bag at this point. Almost every institution has a blockchain team at this. Even if they don't admit to it, they have it. And so I think that's well on its way. But it's important to remember, you can't just chase institutions. You have to win retail. Because ultimately, who works at the institutions is the retail people, right?
Yeah,
so if you want,
true.
if you just go after institutions, it's a very, very rough road. So if you want to win institutions at its core, you need to also win retail, and that's ultimately where we're focused. Yeah. We do have both. We have an institutional arm as well, but we think retail is the way to win.
And as well as Republic invests into different projects, so what type of projects are you looking to?
Yeah, we have a variety of funds at Republic. We have a liquid fund, we have venture funds, we have a Memecoin fund.
Oh, really? I didn't know that you have even Memecoin
fund.
fund.
Yeah. We like that space. We listen. We want to be on, again, tip of spear. Want to be innovative. We see a lot of deal flow. We have a lot of access. We try to take advantage of having all that telemetry gives us a huge edge. Yeah.
And what meme coins do you have in your portfolio, both in Republic and your personal portfolio?
Yeah, I should also state this interview is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I've been in the meme coin space for a long time, but really it's just a hobby and fun. But we've done so well with it at this point that we wanted some of our LPs wanted access to some of these deals as well, and so we put together a small fund to give them a little exposure ultimately.
So what strategy do you have for investing into altcoins? When should you fix?
Altcoins or meme coins? I almost look at them a little differently. Yeah, altcoin space is having a really tough time right now.
The only altcoins which are rising are actually meme coins.
Yeah. Altcoin, I mean, right now it's very Bitcoin dominant, Bitcoin or Ethereum dominant.
Solana dominant too, and
yeah. I mean, Solana probably third on that list, but altcoins are struggling, and Bitcoin dominance is going to continue to grow. We'll see how the market shakes out towards the end of the year.
So maybe you can give some names of the meme coins you invested in?
No. I love all my children equally. Yeah.
No alpha in this interview.
No. We can't give away all the alpha.
Okay. And as well for the investment strategy, you've been through a few cycles. So when is it time to fix your profits?
Yeah, I think it's the thing that's interesting about the cycles is I think the cycles are condensing, which is a sign of maturation in the industry. So they're going to get faster and more condensed. I think right now market cycle is interesting because the volatility is kind of all over the place. Traditionally Q4 does really well after a halvening, so I think it's a good idea to keep an eye on that. And elections also are going to play a role in it. So all those things collectively come together to give a particular macro strategy, and I think you need to be looking at things at a very macro level at this point. Yeah.
And how long will this bull market last, in your opinion?
Well, that's the thing. I think they're condensed. I think that they're going to get shorter and faster ultimately.
So you think we wouldn't
the
see
frequency
the
is
same?
going to get squeezed, right? And so as it gets squeezed, ultimately it will create more consistency, and it most likely will truncate volatility to some aspects. So. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin 100K this year. Yeah.
So you don't expect the super cycle like it was last cycle?
No, and the simple reason is the United States printed more money right before that cycle than ever before. There was a lot of cash in the system, a lot of liquidity. So unless someone else injects a ton of liquidity into the system, I don't know where that capital will come from ultimately to create a crazy super cycle. Doesn't mean that there won't be some level of participation, but not anywhere to where it was back then. Yeah.
In terms of projects, altcoins, do you have any specific bets on the industry, such as infrastructure, like consumer apps, gaming, or maybe Bitcoin layer 2s or something
yeah.
like that?
We have our hands on all those pies. I still think infrastructure is a place that has a long way to go. I know people don't like to talk about infrastructure anymore because they're kind of bored of it, and everyone wants to be at the application layer because they see that as the fun thing.
Yeah.
But listen, the reality is it takes 25 to 30 years for human beings to adopt a new data layer, or new transfer layer system. So, if you look at radio was created in the 1890s, wasn't in homes until the 1920s. TV was created in the 1920s, wasn't in homes until the 1950s. Email was created in 1969. Most people didn't get their email address until 1996. It's not a technology problem, it's a human conditioning issue. Right now every 16-year-old on the planet has only existed in a world where Bitcoin existed. And that's the adoption layer, right? That's the group that's going to build out the applications. Really not us, as much as we want it to be.
Yeah, and in your opinion, what do we need for the mass adoption of crypto?
I mean, this topic comes up all the time. Listen, 50 million Americans have digital assets. I mean, I think mass adoption is here. It's just not in the way that people expect it to be. So you're looking at a massive industry, a massive market that has a lot of exposure. It touches every industry. It's completely agnostic to verticals. As counter opinion as it is, I think mass adoption is already here. It just looks a little differently than everyone thinks it is.
And now there is a lot of hype around Telegram mini apps and different tab games. So this is as well some kind of a way to the mass adoption, and everybody is tapping in expectation to get some airdrop. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the airdrop systems are interesting. I think the answer that you're probably looking for, and that what everyone else is looking for when it comes to mass adoption, is when are people using it and they don't know. And that's probably the next phase. That's the next step of it, and that's definitely on its way.
Yeah, that's true. Do you have any examples of such projects?
Yeah, I mean, we did the Watford sale on Republic. That was a tokenized equity sale. I bet half the people that participated and that have no idea that it's tokenized and don't care.
Okay, so they just see it as investment assets. They don't see any issue on like the settlement or in which form it is issued.
No, all I know is it gave them access to an asset class they couldn't touch previously, and it gives them access to utilities that they otherwise would never have. And that's it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us. Great chatting with you.
No, thanks for having me.